Nobody will tell you to do better than them. Here's a truth that may hurt. Most people will clap for your dreams until your dreams become bigger than theirs. Today, you'll discover why waiting for encouragement is one of the greatest mistakes you can make, and why your future depends on becoming your own greatest supporter. Let me ask you one question. If nobody ever believed in you, would you still have the courage to believe in yourself? Because that answer may determine the rest of your life. People spend much of their lives waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for the right connection, waiting for someone to recognize their potential, waiting for encouragement, waiting for permission. They quietly believe that one day someone will arrive, place a hand on their shoulder and say, "You are ready now. Go become everything you were meant to be." But life rarely works that way. One of the hardest truths you will ever accept is this: no one is obligated to give you permission to become extraordinary. In fact, many people won't. Not because they hate you, not because they want you to fail, but because your growth forces them to confront their own comfort. Human nature is fascinating. People naturally celebrate improvement as long as it doesn't challenge the life they've become comfortable living. When your dreams remain small, everyone feels safe. When your ambitions remain ordinary, everyone feels relaxed. When you begin changing, however, something shifts. You wake up earlier. You stop wasting hours on meaningless distractions. You begin reading instead of complaining. You become intentional with your finances. You guard your time. You protect your peace. Suddenly, people notice. Some become inspired. Others become uncomfortable. Not because you've attacked them, because your discipline silently reminds them of promises they made to themselves but never fulfilled. Growth has a way of exposing comfort. Your progress becomes a mirror, and not everyone enjoys what they see reflected back. That is why waiting for universal approval is one of the greatest mistakes a person can make. If your confidence depends on applause, your confidence will disappear the moment the applause stops. Real confidence begins somewhere much deeper. It begins the day you decide that your purpose is more important than people's opinions. Imagine an eagle standing on the edge of a cliff. Below, smaller birds gather comfortably on familiar branches. They have never flown above the clouds. They have never tested the strength of their wings. From where they stand, staying safe seems wise. As the eagle prepares to leap, they begin offering advice. Don't risk it. It's too dangerous. Stay where it's comfortable. If this branch has been good enough for us, why isn't it good enough for you? If the eagle waits for their permission, it will never discover the sky. Life often places you in similar moments. Your greatest opportunities rarely receive unanimous approval. Some people will misunderstand your decisions. Some will question your sacrifices. Some will even laugh at your vision. Do not become discouraged. History has always belonged to people who were willing to move before everyone else understood. Every meaningful achievement begins as an unpopular decision. The entrepreneur leaves security before others see the business. The writer continues before readers appear. The athlete trains before championships exist. The leader accepts responsibility before recognition arrives. None of them waited for permission. They accepted ownership of their future. This is where responsibility becomes powerful. The moment you stop asking, "Will they believe in me?" and begin asking, "Will I remain faithful to my purpose?" everything begins to change. You stop chasing validation. You start building value. You stop comparing your journey. You begin honoring your calling. One of the greatest dangers of waiting for permission is that it quietly steals time. Days become months, months become years, dreams slowly become regrets. Not because the dream was impossible, because fear disguised itself as patience. There is a difference between preparation and hesitation. Preparation equips you. Hesitation imprisons you. Wise people prepare thoroughly. Fearful people prepare forever. At some point, preparation must become action. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be complete certainty. There will never be universal agreement. There will only be a decision. Another remarkable truth is that permission is often something you give yourself. You decide to become disciplined. You decide to become honest. You decide to become healthier. You decide to learn. You decide to forgive. You decide to grow. Nobody else can make those decisions for you. That is both the responsibility and the privilege of life. The world may open certain doors. Mentors may offer wisdom. Books may provide knowledge. Friends may encourage you, but none of them can walk through the door on your behalf. Growth is always personal. There will also be moments when people closest to you struggle to understand your transformation. Do not become angry. Remember that people often expect you to remain the person they have always known. Change interrupts expectations. Your new habits may make old conversations uncomfortable. Your higher standards may challenge familiar routines. Your discipline may create distance where comfort once created connection. Accept this with grace. Do not argue. Do not seek revenge. Do not spend your energy trying to convince everyone that your dream matters. Your responsibility is not to explain your purpose to every person you meet. Your responsibility is to live it faithfully. Eventually, results speak a language that explanations never can. People may question your early mornings today. One day, they will admire your consistency. They may laugh at your sacrifices today. One day, they may ask how you achieved what they once doubted. When that day comes, remain humble. Because true greatness never grows from proving people wrong. It grows from remaining faithful to what is right. Remember this truth. The permission you've been waiting for has never been in someone else's hands. It has always been in yours. Every sunrise silently asks the same question. Will you become the person you are capable of becoming today? Not tomorrow. Not when everyone approves. Not when circumstances become perfect. Today. Stand up. Choose courage over comfort. Choose purpose over popularity. Choose discipline over excuses. Stop waiting for someone else to announce your potential. Stop waiting for the world to tell you that you are ready. You become ready by beginning. Because no one can grant you the life you were created to build. Only you can make the decision to rise. And the day you stop asking for permission to become great is the day your true journey finally begins. The people you spend your life with will shape your future far more than you realize. Long before success or failure becomes visible, it is quietly being formed through conversations, expectations, habits, and the standards that surround you every day. You may believe your future depends entirely on your talent or determination, but there is another force working silently in the background: your environment. Your circle can either stretch your vision or shrink your potential. Imagine placing a tiny eagle among chickens from the day it is born. Every morning it watches them scratch the ground. Every afternoon it watches them hop only a few feet into the air. Every evening it returns to the same small space. After enough time, the eagle begins believing it was created for the same life. The wings capable of soaring above mountains remain folded, not because they lack strength, but because they have never seen what those wings were designed to do. Many people live exactly this way. Not because they lack ability, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because they have spent so much time around limited thinking that they mistake limitation for reality. Your environment quietly becomes your expectation. If everyone around you complains, complaining begins to feel normal. If everyone around you accepts mediocrity, excellence begins to seem unnecessary. If everyone around you fears change, courage begins to look reckless. You rarely notice this transformation because it happens slowly. One conversation, one excuse, one compromise, one negative opinion. One ordinary day repeated hundreds of times. Eventually, the environment shapes your identity before you even realize it. This is why you must become intentional about the voices you allow into your life. Not every opinion deserves equal weight. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Not every person has earned the right to influence your future. There is an old truth worth remembering. Never accept advice from someone who would not want to trade lives with you. That does not mean rejecting people with kindness or looking down on others. It simply means recognizing that everyone speaks from the level of life they have accepted. Someone who has surrendered their dreams may unintentionally discourage yours. Someone who fears failure may criticize your courage. Someone who has become comfortable may question your ambition. Their words often reveal their own limitations more than yours. Think about a seed planted in two different places. One seed is placed in rich soil. The other is planted in dry, rocky ground. Both contain the same potential, yet one grows tall while the other struggles to survive. The seed is not the problem, the environment is. People are remarkably similar. Potential needs the right environment to flourish. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger, people who ask difficult questions instead of offering comfortable excuses, people who celebrate discipline instead of mocking it, people who value integrity more than popularity, people who encourage growth even when growth is uncomfortable. Those relationships become fertile soil for your future. One of the greatest dangers in life is confusing familiarity with destiny. Just because you have always been surrounded by certain attitudes does not mean you must remain there forever. Some people stay in unhealthy environments simply because they are familiar. They fear the discomfort of change more than the pain of remaining the same. But growth often requires leaving familiar conversations behind. That does not always mean leaving people physically. Sometimes it means changing the subjects you discuss, changing the books you read, changing the podcasts you listen to, changing the mentors you learn from, changing the information you allow to shape your thinking. Your environment is no longer limited to the people sitting beside you. Every video you watch, every article you read, every voice you repeatedly hear, every account you follow, all of these become part of your mental environment. Guard it carefully, because what enters your mind repeatedly eventually influences your decisions. Another powerful truth is that strong environments raise your standards. When you spend time with people who honor their commitments, faithfulness becomes normal. When you observe people who continue learning throughout life, curiosity becomes natural. When you witness discipline practiced consistently, excuses begin to lose their influence. Standards are contagious, so is complacency. Choose carefully which one you allow to spread through your life. There will be moments when changing your environment feels lonely. You may outgrow conversations that once entertained you. You may lose interest in habits that once consumed your evenings. You may become misunderstood by people who preferred the older version of you. Accept this without bitterness. Growth is not betrayal. Growth is responsibility. Do not change because you think you are better than others. Change because you refuse to remain smaller than your potential. Remember that iron becomes sharper when it meets iron. Strength develops through challenge. Wisdom develops through learning. Character develops through accountability. If no one around you inspires you to become better, you may need to intentionally seek a new environment where growth is expected rather than resisted. The beautiful truth is that one encouraging voice can change the direction of an entire life. One mentor can introduce a new perspective. One book can awaken forgotten dreams. One conversation can restore courage. One example can convince you that what once seemed impossible is actually achievable. Never underestimate the power of being around people who believe growth is possible. Their faith becomes contagious. Their discipline becomes inspiring. Their example quietly raises your own expectations. Remember this: you will rarely rise far above the standards you consistently accept. If you surround yourself with people who settle, settling becomes easier. If you surround yourself with people who grow, growth becomes natural. Your future is not built only by the decisions you make. It is also shaped by the people, ideas, and influences that shape those decisions. So choose your circle with wisdom. Protect your mind with intention. Seek relationships that stretch your vision instead of shrinking it. Because one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is an environment that constantly reminds you of who you are capable of becoming. The right circle does not simply make life more enjoyable. It makes greatness feel possible. Many people begin their journey full of excitement. They make bold announcements. They tell everyone about the business they will build, the book they will write, the weight they will lose, or the life they are about to change. For a few days, they receive encouragement. Friends congratulate them. Family members offer compliments. Social media rewards their enthusiasm with likes and comments. Then something changes. The excitement fades. The work becomes repetitive. Results come slower than expected. The applause disappears. And suddenly, the dream that once felt exciting begins to feel lonely. This is the moment where most people quit. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they have confused validation with purpose. Quiet discipline will always be stronger than loud validation. Validation is pleasant. It feels good to be noticed. It feels good to hear people say, "You're doing amazing." There is nothing wrong with appreciation. The danger comes when your commitment depends on it. If you only work hard when people are watching, your growth will stop the moment the audience leaves. If you only stay disciplined when others praise you, your future becomes controlled by opinions you cannot control. True greatness is built differently. It is built in silence. Think about the roots of a mighty tree. No one applauds while they grow. No one gathers to celebrate the unseen work happening beneath the soil. For months, sometimes years, the roots stretch deeper into the earth without receiving attention. Yet those invisible roots become the very reason the tree survives powerful storms. People celebrate the height of the tree. Very few appreciate the depth of the roots. Your character grows the same way. The habits nobody sees are preparing you for opportunities everybody will notice later. Every morning you wake up before the sun. Every page you read. Every workout you complete. Every promise you keep. Every distraction you refuse. Every hour you spend improving your craft. These moments may appear insignificant, but they are quietly building a foundation that public success will eventually stand upon. One of the greatest misconceptions about successful people is that they are constantly celebrated. In reality, most of their journey happens in obscurity. Before the recognition comes the repetition. Before the applause comes the discipline. Before the influence comes the invisible preparation. A musician practices thousands of hours before performing on a stage. An author writes countless pages before readers discover the book. An athlete trains long before anyone sees the championship trophy. The public usually witnesses the reward. It rarely witnesses the preparation. This is why you must learn to love the process more than the applause. Applause is temporary. Growth is permanent. There will be days when no one notices your effort. No one thanks you. No one encourages you. No one understands the sacrifices you're making. Those days are not evidence that your work lacks value. They are opportunities to prove that your commitment is genuine. Because discipline is revealed when encouragement disappears. Anyone can stay committed while the crowd is cheering. Very few remain faithful when the room becomes silent. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. Each strike of the chisel removes only a tiny fragment. To someone passing by, it appears as though nothing significant is happening. Day after day, the sculptor returns. Patiently, faithfully, quietly. Months later, a magnificent masterpiece stands where an ordinary stone once rested. People admire the finished work. Few appreciate the thousands of unnoticed strikes that shaped it. Life works exactly the same way. Your future is being carved by daily actions that may seem invisible today. Never underestimate small acts of discipline simply because they lack immediate recognition. Another danger of seeking validation is comparison. When your motivation depends on what others think, you begin measuring your progress against someone else's journey. You become discouraged because another person seems further ahead. You question your abilities because someone else receives more attention. You forget that every meaningful journey unfolds at its own pace. Comparison steals joy because it shifts your focus away from your own growth. Discipline restores that focus. It reminds you that your responsibility is not to outshine another person. Your responsibility is to become a little better than you were yesterday. Quiet progress is still progress. Invisible improvement is still improvement. Seeds do not become forests overnight. Rivers do not carve mountains in a single afternoon. Masterpieces are not completed in one day. Everything meaningful requires patient consistency. There is also tremendous freedom in quiet discipline. When you stop working for approval, you become free to pursue excellence. You no longer waste energy trying to impress people. You invest that energy into improving yourself. Your identity stops depending on compliments. It becomes rooted in character. You begin asking different questions. Not, did people notice me today? But, did I honor my commitments today? Not, did someone praise my work? But did I give my very best? Those questions build lasting confidence because they are based on your choices, not other people's opinions. Eventually, something remarkable happens. The quiet work begins producing visible results. People who overlooked your discipline suddenly notice your success. Some will call you fortunate. Others will say you achieved your goals quickly. They did not see the early mornings. They did not see the setbacks. They did not see the lonely seasons when you kept going without recognition. Success often appears sudden to those who never witnessed the preparation. Remember this: the applause of the crowd cannot build your future. Only your daily habits can. Validation may encourage you for a moment. Discipline will carry you for a lifetime. So continue showing up when no one is watching. Continue learning when no one is applauding. Continue improving when no one is celebrating your effort. Because the strongest lives are not built under bright lights. They are built in quiet moments of faithfulness. One disciplined day at a time. One unseen decision at a time. One humble step at a time. And one day, the life people admire will simply be the visible result of years of invisible discipline. Many people spend their lives competing with everyone around them. They compare salaries. They compare houses. They compare followers. They compare achievements. They compare appearances. They compare recognition. Every day becomes another race, another contest, another attempt to prove they are ahead of someone else. But there is a hidden danger in living this way. The moment your life becomes centered on competition, your peace becomes dependent on someone else's performance. If someone succeeds, you feel threatened. If someone receives recognition, you feel overlooked. If someone reaches a goal before you, your own progress suddenly feels smaller. This is not the life you are meant to live. True greatness is never about becoming better than other people. It is about becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Build a life that inspires others instead of competing with them. Imagine two runners on a mountain trail. The first runner spends the entire race looking sideways. He constantly checks where everyone else is. He worries about who is ahead. He celebrates when someone falls behind. He becomes discouraged when someone passes him. His eyes are rarely fixed on the path. The second runner keeps looking forward. Every step is intentional. Every breath is focused. He respects the runners around him, but he refuses to let them determine his pace. By concentrating on his own race, he avoids unnecessary distractions and finishes stronger than he ever imagined. Life rewards the second runner because focus always outperforms comparison. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to steal joy. There will always be someone richer, someone younger, someone more experienced, someone with a larger audience, someone who appears more successful. If your happiness depends on becoming number one in every category, happiness will remain forever out of reach. But if your joy comes from becoming a wiser, stronger, kinder version of yourself each day, then every sunrise offers another opportunity to win. The beautiful truth about personal growth is that there is no finish line where one person receives all the rewards while everyone else loses. Growth is not a limited resource. Someone else's success does not reduce your potential. Another person's breakthrough does not cancel your future. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. In fact, darkness disappears faster when more lights begin to shine. That is how influence works. The greatest people in history were not remembered because they defeated everyone around them. They were remembered because they lifted others while pursuing excellence themselves. Think about a teacher. A truly great teacher does not fear becoming surpassed by the students. That is actually the goal. A parent hopes their children experience opportunities they never had. A wise mentor celebrates when the student becomes even more capable. That is not weakness. That is greatness. Only insecure people feel threatened by another person's growth. Secure people celebrate it because they understand that success is not a competition for limited space. It is an opportunity to create greater impact. One reason people compete so fiercely is because they measure success by recognition instead of contribution. Recognition asks, how many people noticed me? Contribution asks, how many people became better because I lived? Those are completely different questions. Recognition often disappears with time. Contribution continues living through the lives you touch. This is why purpose always outlasts popularity. Imagine planting a fruit tree. The tree never eats its own fruit. It grows, it matures, it produces. Then others receive nourishment because of its faithfulness. A meaningful life works the same way. Your discipline should produce encouragement for others. Your integrity should give people hope. Your perseverance should remind struggling people that obstacles can be overcome. Your kindness should make the world a little gentler. Your example should quietly whisper, if change is possible for one person, perhaps it is possible for me too. That is influence. Not demanding attention, not proving superiority, simply living with such consistency that others become inspired to improve their own lives. Another danger of constant competition is that it often pushes people towards shortcuts. When beating others becomes more important than becoming better, integrity begins to weaken. People exaggerate. They compromise values. They chase appearances. They pursue quick victories instead of lasting character. But character refuses shortcuts. Character understands that arriving with integrity is more valuable than arriving quickly without it. Your greatest competition should always be your previous self. Ask yourself, am I more disciplined than I was last year? Am I more patient, more grateful, more courageous, more honest, more generous? Those questions produce lasting growth because they focus on what you can actually control. You cannot control another person's gifts. You cannot control another person's opportunities. You cannot control another person's timing, but you can always control your own choices. That is where your energy belongs. As you continue growing, something remarkable begins to happen. People stop seeing your success as something to envy. Instead, they begin seeing it as something to learn from. Your life becomes proof that consistent effort matters. Your habits become encouragement. Your humility becomes refreshing. Your faithfulness becomes contagious. Without saying many words, your example begins teaching lessons that speeches alone never could. That is the highest form of leadership. Not standing above people, walking ahead with enough integrity that others feel safe following the path. Remember this truth. You were never created to spend your life trying to outshine everyone around you. You were created to develop your gifts, strengthen your character, and faithfully fulfill your purpose. If someone runs faster than you, applaud them. If someone succeeds before you, celebrate them. If someone teaches you something valuable, thank them. Because another person's success is not your defeat. It is proof that greatness is possible. And if greatness is possible for them, it remains possible for you. So stop competing for attention. Start competing against yesterday's limitations. Become wiser than yesterday, kinder than yesterday, stronger than yesterday, more disciplined than yesterday. If you commit yourself to that journey every single day, you will discover something extraordinary. The life that truly inspires others is never built by defeating people. It is built by serving them, encouraging them, and becoming the very example you once needed yourself. That is the kind of greatness that never fades. That is the kind of legacy worth building.